Welcome everyone. As David mentioned, I'm Laura Stone. I'm a Queen's Park reporter for the Globe and Mail. It is my absolute pleasure this morning to introduce the Honourable Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario. He is the 26th Premier of Ontario and the Member of Provincial Parliament for the great state of Etobicoke, as he often says, Etobicoke North. Premier Ford previously managed his family business, was a Toronto City Councillor, and has served as Premier since 2018. Premier Ford will make a few remarks, and following that, we'll sit down for a few follow-up questions. Please welcome to the stage Premier Doug Ford.
Well, you have quite a crowd here, Laura. That's good. And Harry, great talk there, and thank you for the kind words about Ontario and what we're doing financially. But first of all, I just want to say hello, everyone, and I want to thank Laura for that introduction, and thank you to everyone for joining us today. It's a real pleasure to be here alongside our incredible Finance Minister, Peter Bethlenfalvy, and I'll tell you, he is an incredible Finance Minister. You know, this guy's as tight as skin on a grape when it comes to spending taxpayers' money, but we need someone like Peter. I know, he's checking his pockets. His pockets, folks, go right down to his ankles, and they're set with mouse traps all the way up both legs there. But thank God we have him. I say he's the best finance minister we've ever had, and thank you for passing an incredible budget. Thank you for keeping us at a AA credit rating. And by the way, folks, if you look at any other province, it's a financial disaster across the country. But with Peter's, well, it's true, everyone's getting downgraded except we are, because of your guidance, Peter, and your background. And, you know, we've surrounded our team with prudent fiscal managers and always looking at the bottom line, and thank you for that. And my great parliamentary assistant, Will Boma, but not only that, Will, you have the toughest job out of anyone. He's the caucus chair. Just imagine keeping 80 politicians all going in the same direction. So you're incredible. You have the toughest job next to Aiden, my teleprompter person, because I'm all over the map already. So just Aiden, just hang in there, buddy. I'll get back to the script here. Oh boy. And you know, I just want to thank so many industry leaders helping guide Ontario and Canada through this period of unprecedented economic uncertainty. As President Trump's tariffs take direct aim at Ontario workers and create chaos and uncertainty for businesses, we can't afford to be complacent. We can't accept the status quo, and that's why our government is ensuring that Ontario is prepared for anything. Because while we may not be able to control President Trump, well, God knows who can control President Trump, but we can't control him, we can control the decisions we make here in Ontario and in Canada by building the most competitive, resilient, and self-reliant economy in the G7. As part of our plan to protect Ontario, we're investing more than $236 billion to build, and that's basically build our infrastructure, which is the largest plan of its kind in Canadian history. We're building new pipelines, rail lines, airports, and seaports so we can find new trading partners and rely less on old ones. And we're building hospitals, highways, schools, transit, and all the critical infrastructure we need to connect communities, create jobs, make life more affordable, and grow our economy. Because a strong economy is what allows us to invest even more in the world-class services that Ontario and families are counting on. And folks, I always say, you look at our healthcare, our education, our infrastructure, the foundation of all that is one single thing. That's our economy. Without a strong economy, we can't fund anything else. And again, thanks to a great team, and when I say a great team, I'm not talking our team, I'm talking Ontario. You know, folks, I spent about 20 years of my life in our business in the US, in Chicago and New Jersey, and what makes Ontario different, number one, we have the most educated population in the G7. We graduate more STEM graduates than anyone in North America. We're up to 85,000, we'll hit 100,000, and that's our selling feature. When Vic Fideli, myself, Peter, any of our members are traveling around the world, number one selling feature is the talent we have here in Ontario. It is second to none. We're powering this economic growth by building more nuclear energy, including the first small modular reactors in the G7 and the first large-scale nuclear facilities in decades. Folks, I'm going to put this into perspective here. Myself, Minister Lecce, and he's just oh boy, is he a racehorse, Lecce. He's in charge of energy and critical minerals. So we decided to take a trip down to New York and meet the governor down there, Governor Hochul, a wonderful person. She's really, really nice. And she said to me, Premier, we're expanding our energy by 1,000 megawatts. And I said, wow, congratulations, Governor. And she said, what are you expanding by? I said, we're expanding by 16,500 megawatts. And folks, I'll put this, and this is the way I understand it, I'll round it off to 16,000 megawatts. 16,000 megawatts powers 16 million homes. So that is absolutely massive. And after I picked her up off the floor because she fell off her chair when I said 16,500 megawatts and reminded her that we keep 1.5 million businesses and homes or lights on in the US through Michigan, through New York, and through Minnesota, our great American friends, and they are really good friends. I don't see eye to eye with President Trump, but I love the Americans. They need our energy, and we're going to produce that energy. We know we don't need 16 million homes, but what we do need, we need them for the data centers that draw massive amounts of energy. We need them for large businesses that are coming here, and we've seen over $230 billion of foreign investment invest right here in Ontario since we've taken office. And then the balance, we can ship down to our great neighbors down south. And, you talk to Governor Shapiro in Pennsylvania. He wants us to run the line under Lake Erie and pop up through Erie, Pennsylvania. But these are some of our strengths. I always say, folks, that, we don't need President Trump to get permits quicker for our nuclear build-out and the regulatory bodies. I'm going to give you one example. So we're building 4 SMRs, leading the G7 partnership with Tennessee Valley Authority, along with General Electric, Hitachi. But doesn't it make common sense, business sense, that we have 4 SMRs side by side? One is ahead of the others. Wouldn't you figure, rather than getting a permit for one, permit for another, and permit for the 4th one that takes delays, we get a blanket permit right across the board from the regulator to speed things up. It just makes common sense. And that's what I mean by we don't need President Trump to do that or build the largest nuclear facility in the entire world out by Wesleyville. We don't need President Trump to get our critical minerals, the 170 strategic critical minerals we have here in Ontario more than anywhere in the world that the world wants. We don't need President Trump for that. We were last in the world to getting permits. We went from last place just a couple of years ago because the federal government didn't believe in the critical minerals, thank God. Now we have a prime minister that understands business, and now we're down to the second quickest in the entire world, getting permits under 24 months. And we're just slightly behind Nevada, which will beat them next year. But as we build, we'll be using Ontario steel, lumber, machinery, and anything else we can so Ontario tax dollars support Ontario jobs and Ontario workers. To create the conditions for growth, our government is cutting red tape and unnecessary paperwork and keeping taxes and fees low so we can save businesses and families $12 billion each and every single year and 1.8 million working hours every single year. This includes our latest $1.1 billion small business tax cut as part of our 2026 budget. It's a 31% tax cut that will save over 375,000 businesses an average of $5,000 a year that they can invest back into their businesses and create more jobs and economic opportunity. Folks, this is economics 101. First of all, we're the only government that I can remember, and our family's been involved in this for almost 3 decades, probably 35 years, I've never seen a government that's never raised taxes. We've decreased taxes, and it's, again, economics 101. Put money into people's pockets. They're going to do things they might otherwise not be able to do. Maybe, save money for a renovation. Maybe save money to build a home after we cut the HST with the federal government taking 13%, $130,000 off a $1 million home. Or as simple as going out for dinner. You take money out of people's pockets, they're going to save it, they aren't going to do anything, and that's what drives the economy down. But if you put money into their pockets, it's going to drive the economy. It's no different than businesses. Businesses, you put money into businesses, I know personally, you invest into people, you invest into technology, into infrastructure, buying new equipment, that drives the economy, employs more people. And I just wish more leaders, political leaders, would do the same thing. Government doesn't have an income problem, they have a spending problem. They spend and spend and tax and spend. We will never, ever do that. But as the leaders here today know better than most, we need to do even more to ensure Ontario's economy is prepared to withstand whatever President Trump sends our way. We have to build a stronger economy by helping businesses cut through red tape and access the approvals they need faster so they can invest and create jobs here in Ontario quickly and with confidence. Under the leadership of our Minister of Red Tape Reduction, Andrea Kanjan, we're reviewing all business-facing government permits with the goal of streamlining or eliminating as many of them as possible, and more than 150 permits are already being reviewed. Through our One Project, One Process framework, which will reduce government review timelines by 50%, we've also identified 12 potential projects and designated 3. This includes our critical work in the Ring of Fire, a once-in-a-generation opportunity to create more than 70,000 jobs, make Ontario critical mineral superpower, as we already are, we just have to get those critical minerals out of the ground, and add $22 billion to our province's economy. To build on our progress this week, Minister Kanjan tabled the Protecting Ontario's Workers and Economic Resilience Act. This new red tape reduction bill will speed up and simplify permitting processes for major projects and home builds, and remove requirements that lead to multiple reviews of a single issue while keeping strong oversight in place. Since taking office, we've cut nearly 700 pieces of unnecessary red tape, saving people and businesses an estimated $1.3 billion. By cutting more red tape and standing up for our talented workers, we're building a stronger and more competitive provincial economy. That's why, despite the challenges created by President Trump, I have never been more optimistic about Ontario's future. Whether it's energy, natural resources, or our talented workers, the world wants what Ontario has. Working together, we're going to continue to protect Ontario by building the most competitive economy in the G7. Again, I want to thank you for coming, and feel free, if you ever need anything, call me on my cell phone. I'm the only crazy politician in the world that gives out his phone number and gets 1,000 people a day. But here we go. It's out there anyways, 647-612-3673, 647-612-3673. I have a special hotline that if you can't get through, because I'm not exaggerating, when I say hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, every minute and a half, I got a hotline. It's 1-800, call Peter Bethenfalvey. He'll answer all your calls. All right, thanks everyone, appreciate it. Okay, here comes the tough part.
Oh, yeah. Get ready. Thank you so much, Premier.
Thank you.
Where have you been? You have barely been in the news this week. It's like we haven't seen you, right? Like, where is this guy?
Yeah, well, people think, and you know something, Laura, as I said, I should have given the why about this plane having the 20th largest GDP in the entire world. We're larger than, you look at France and Spain combined, twice the size of Texas. And by the way, I know you guys spun it. It wasn't my plane. It was a multi-ministerial plane.
Don't look at me.
Anyway, oh, you were in there. You were in there like a dirty shirt with the rest of them. It's his jet. He's flying all over. Folks, let me tell you something since we're on this topic. Hold on. I'm the premier that went in, and every single premier inception, which I agree with, had 2 planes, right? I get in there and said, get rid of the planes. And rode on commercial, which I have no problem with, for 6-7 years. And you know, but when you go down to Texas, and Laura was down there with us.
Flying commercial, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's be clear.
But you didn't go to 3 cities, you showed up to 1 city.
Oh, no, I showed up at 2.
Oh, 2, okay.
I drove.
Okay, but anyways, it was great to see you down there. So we...
With Robert Betsy.
So, folks, I'll give you one example. So we fly into Texas, and in 2 days and 1 morning, we had and hit 3 cities. We went to Houston, Austin, and Dallas, and we told the story. You know, I'm a business person. I'm just a numbers guy, and you can get on the phone with them, you can get on Zoom, but nothing is better than sitting across the table, eye to eye. And we walked away, and I'm being super, super conservative. Again, with 13 appointments, these are large Fortune 500 companies. Walked away with over $6 billion of investment here in Toronto, and I'm sorry, Ontario and a lot Toronto, but more are coming. But that's what we need to do. We need to have Vic Fideli flying around the world, our Minister of Economic Development, Peter, myself, and everyone else selling Ontario. But it was a great trip. It was great to have you there, and you saw it firsthand on how you can get things done. So that's what we're doing all the time.
So why not keep the plane? Like, why was it turned around in one day that you came out and...
It's bad communications. I can announce we sold the plane for the same price right back to Bombardier and said, okay, you take it back. But here nor there, it's unprecedented. Be very frank with you. You know, you look at the U.S. states, you look at any governor, it's just unprecedented. We have no plane now, folks. And what it was is to fly firefighters up. It was for Ontario Corps. It was for OPP when they have to send a tactical team up. And it was a multi-ministerial plane, Minister of Natural Resources, so on and so forth. But anyways, here and there, it's done. I'm flying, you know, commercial, or we'll fly on the little puddle jumper that the OPP has. Folks, let me tell you something. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but if you go on, has anyone been on a single prop plane in the middle of God's country, way up north, and the rain's coming, you're bouncing, you're praying to God that you land the plane. And I could literally sit in the plane, I can put my hand across, and all you're doing is watching that single prop bouncing up and down, praying to God that you land this plane, and there's no streets, there's nothing up there. But that's all part of the job, right? As my mom would say, you signed up for it, shut up and keep working. So that's what we're doing.
So, Premier, there was a report that the plane that you purchased, in the report in CBC today, saying that it would only have been able to land at like 10% of the airports in Ontario. So was it really practical purchase?
The commercial's canceling, well, Kenora, you can't get to Kenora. You can't get into Sault Ste. Marie. And the point is, it's about time. And when you're the premier, and it's not just Doug Ford, any premier, you have the Prime Minister waiting for you down in Windsor to make the announcement in Stellantis. I'm stuck in delays over at Porter because I'm stuck on the island, and we have 500 people waiting for you to show up, and you can barely make that appointment. Time is money. And that's what it comes down to, getting from point A to point B. If we didn't charter a plane in Texas, I couldn't have drawn the $6 billion of investment. I couldn't have made 3 cities, 13 appointments in 2.1 days. I think every single person in this room understands that you have to get around. And in our case, matter of fact, folks, it costs more to charter these planes than it is to get your own. It's just common sense. But anyways, so we're going to keep moving forward and driving the economy.
Just last thing on the plane. So will we see a full accounting of
yes, you will see every
how
single
much
penny.
It cost to charter versus to own a plane, and how much it costs for maintenance fees or storage? Like, we still own the plane, right?
We don't have a plane. It's gone back to Bombardier. We never took possession. But folks,
so wait, sorry, sir. Wow, but so okay. Does that mean that that you've sold the plane back to Bombardier?
We gave it back to Bombardier, the exact same price. No one lost anything. So what we're going to do is continue moving along, and where I can take a charter, where I have to take commercial, I'll take commercial. But the only person in the history of Ontario that's done this, by the way, and since you talk dollars and cents, I've never told anyone this, folks, but they're nailing me for spending money. I've saved millions and millions of dollars by not using the other planes that we had. But if you want to be frank and they want to drill down on dollars and cents, and I've kept this for 8 years now, folks, outside of when you travel, you get your hotel and you get your plane. I've never, and you look it up, MPP's expense, and I don't begrudge them, I've never spent a penny. Zero in 8 years. It's never been done before. I use my own money when we travel, and I've never said anything. But since they're going after me about money, I'm the only guy in the history of this country that doesn't bill the taxpayers for nothing, zero. Not a coffee, not nothing at all. So we'll talk about money. There you go.
Okay. Let's stick with the plane theme. Let's talk about Billy Bishop Airport, because you have grand plans for the expansion of the airport. What was the Prime Minister's reaction when you told him that you wanted to do this and that you wanted to work with the federal government on expanding the airport?
Well, I think we came to a consensus. I don't like discussing our private conversations, but he's a smart business person. He understands it's a crown jewel. There's no city around that has an airport downtown. There are other cities. I spent 20 years of my life in Chicago. You have Midway and you have O'Hare. We're expanding, but it's about convenience. And folks, we've taken more polls on this than you shake a stick at. 70% of the people want the convenience to fly out of Billy Bishop. They want competitive prices against one of the most expensive landing fees in North America up at Pearson, and that's what they want. And we aren't landing 747s and everything else. We're going to land jets, and it's going to attract people from all over the world that will land downtown, and it'll be convenient. You hop off the plane and move forward. Or you're going to go to a spectacular destination called Ontario Place, or go to the new convention center. And by the way, folks, we're in last place. I hate being in last place. We're last place in North America on conventions and convention centers. I'm sorry, we're 27 out of 28. So we're losing. They showed me a list of all these massive conventions that we're losing, because if you ever went to the convention center downtown, you're upstairs, you're downstairs, you're upstairs, and we only have 600,000 square feet. You need $1 million to $2 million to attract the big players on the conventions. They bring thousands, tens of thousands of people over a period of time. They go out, they get a hotel room, they spend money, they go to dinner, so on and so forth. So that's our plans. We're thinking big, and that's what you need to do. When you're the third largest population between the US and Canada, you can't think small-minded, and that's what's been taking place over a number of years.
Can you explain your fascination with the waterfront? I mean, there are some that say you're fixated on this, and that you want to be the mayor of Toronto, but you want to have the power of the premier. What is it about the waterfront of Toronto?
I believe in economic development. I'm sorry, I lived in the most beautiful waterfront in the world, and that's Chicago. And they have a setback. But over the years, we've built these condos butt up against the water. There is no waterfront. So, folks, ever since Front Street, Front is the front of the lake, or front of Royal York Hotel, everything is landfill all the way back. We have been doing tunneling. We have we're building the largest transit system expansion in North America. 5 lines simultaneously. So we have enough fill north of the city to fill 6 sky domes. And so why don't we utilize that? Why don't we create more land and more opportunities and a park and a convention center, and who knows, many years down the road, maybe some sort of sports arena or sports complex. That's what world-class cities do. They don't sit back and say, no, we only want cow pastures, we just want horse and buggies. But that's a socialist mentality. Socialism sounds great, as Margaret Thatcher said, until you run out of other people's money. And then there's givers and takers, there's workers and takers. And I want more workers contributing to society, paying their taxes, because eventually you run out of money. Socialism does not work. Protectionism does not work anywhere in the world.
So are those who are opposed to your development plans at the waterfront socialists?
No, they just don't have the vision. I'm sorry. Either leave the waterfront the way it is, which is stagnant, leave Ontario Place with tumbleweeds, the previous government sat there for 15 years, or you can build something world-class. World-class, that when people come here, they're going to be able to go to the new RBC amphitheater, or they can go, you call it the spa, water park, everything. It's going to be mark my words, folks, all these people that complain and criticize, guess what? They're going to be first in line. They're going to be going there to go to the water park, or going through the public realm, or they're going to go have a concert, or they're going to go to the world-class design of the Science Center. When they showed it to me, it's something out of like Dubai. And I'm thinking, this is absolutely incredible. So this is what we're doing. You can be a small thinker, you can be a big thinker. And most politicians think year to year to year to year. Fiscally, we have to look at year to year. But what we do, we look at 50 to 100 years down the road. Again, doubling the size of our transit system, GO Train, as well as public transit. We're putting $80 billion into transit, never been done in North America. We're spending $30 billion on building highways and roads and bridges. And we're spending $23 billion on building new schools. We're spending $60 billion on building 50 new hospitals around the province. It's never been done. And with a great prudent fiscal manager, Peter, we're at still AA credit rating. And so we're prudent fiscal managers, and we invest in infrastructure, and that creates tens of thousands of jobs.
Premier, there are some who believe that you wanted to expand Billy Bishop because you wanted to fly a government jet there. Can you address that?
Oh, these the cheese slipped off the cracker with some of these folks that say this. No, but I'm thinking, come on. It's a crown jewel. It's beautiful. It's going to be spectacular. Do you know what the socialists want to do downtown? This is the truth. They wanted to turn it into a park. So they wanted to turn Billy Bishop into a park. It's staggering, absolutely staggering. People think that way. And I want to create more parkland, but just not on the runway.
Okay. Let's talk about the U.S., and we're going to go over time, right? Because there's not enough. So we heard from Minister Dominic LeBlanc here earlier today, who I think you've shared a cigar with once or twice.
Many.
We heard from the U.S. multiple times that the U.S. liquor off Ontario shelves is a major irritant. And he talked today about, he's not going to tell the provinces what to do. You need to get something in return. But what will it take for you to put that liquor back? And do you think that would help in the trade talks?
Well, I'd do it in a heartbeat, folks. But when he's destroying our auto sector, putting in jeopardy tens of thousands of jobs, actually the auto sector is 100,000, and we are going after our steel sector, our aluminum sector, our lumber sector, our dairy sector, and he expects us to sit back and roll over. You never roll over to a bully. You confront them head on. One of our tools is alcohol. We're the largest purchaser of alcohol in the world, the LCBO. That's one tool. But isn't it great that we've seen great Niagara wines and other wines, the sales have gone up 70%, creating more jobs, more opportunities for Ontario workers. That's what we need to do. And once we get the deal done, which I'm confident, eventually we'll get it done, then we'll bring back maybe California red wine. You can sit down and have a glass of wine. I'll have my chocolate milk.
I would never.
You have a glass of red wine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because you don't drink, right, Premier? We've talked about this.
I'm not a drinker. I like chocolate milk.
Yeah.
I do.
It's delicious.
What can I say?
So you're only prepared to do this if we get more tariff relief, if USMCA is renewed? Is there a red line?
I think we have to wait till USMCA is renewed. And I'm sorry, folks, I don't trust President Trump. I remember talking to Secretary Lutnick when I said I put a surcharge on their power, and I promise we'll get rid of the steel tariffs. They get rid of them for a couple days or a week. I get rid of the surcharge, and what do? They double up on us. So, I do not trust him whatsoever.
Have you been in touch with Secretary Lutnick recently? I know you've...
Not recently, not in depth. I think, the odd time when the Consul General's office got shot up, I called him and said, we're going to take care of it. But he's kind of been moved to the side a little bit. It's Greer that I think the world of, because he signed the last deal with us. He's a smart individual, but he goes to the president and just all heck breaks loose.
Okay, so you don't think that Secretary Lutnick has as much sway potentially
I
as he
don't
once
believe
did?
so. He's a smart business person, but he's not directly deep involved. It's Greer that's driving the deal.
What do you think of the Prime Minister's kind of recent tone on Canada-U.S. relations, calling the relationship a weakness, maybe cataloging the fact that we're in for tough talks and that things might get worse? I mean, do you think that he sold the public maybe a false bag of goods about his ability to get this deal with the United States?
I wouldn't say that. You know, I have a great deal of respect for the Prime Minister. He was a business-minded person, Goldman Sachs. You know, he was with Brookfield. He ran the Bank of Canada as well as in the UK. But what he's saying indirectly is that we have to diversify our trade. If there's two good things that President Trump has done, he's united our country and he woke us up. And we need awakening. So we're diversifying our trade, and we've seen trade numbers skyrocket anywhere from 100% to 250% in probably about 12, 13 different countries. So we're seeing trade. Folks, we have 51 free trade deals around the world. Let's start working with the other countries. We have shipped double the amount to the Port of St. John in New Brunswick. When we do that, that gets shipped out to Europe, it gets shipped out to South America. So the world is waking up. And don't get me wrong, I love the Americans. And make no mistake, they love Canadians. I saw it down there. They rolled out the red carpet for us when we were in Texas, and they just love us. But we're going to continue building that relationship with the U.S., but diversifying around the world at the same time.
And Pierre Poilievre has accused the Prime Minister of stoking fear now with this new line about weakness and not living up to what he communicated during the election, that he would solve this. What do you think of that characterization about stoking fear?
Well, you know, I don't want to jump into that bear trap between the federal leader, the Conservatives. All I know is the Prime Minister. We've had a great relationship. We just signed an $8.8 billion deal on multiple fronts. I can call him up, he calls back, I text him, he texts me, back and forth. We have a great relationship. And you know, folks, I can tell you something. I don't give two hoots about political stripes. I'm so proud to be the leader of the PC Party of Ontario, but I will work with an NDP mayor, Olivia Chow. I'll work with NDP premiers like Wab Kinew or Eby. I'll work with a Liberal Prime Minister. I don't care. If it's good for Ontario, I'm going to work with him.
Is the Prime Minister a Liberal, do you think?
You know, well, I've said it once publicly. So we get together for the first time. We go over to my little breakfast place called Wally's. He sits down, the first thing he looks at me, he says, "I'm more conservative than you." And I said, "Okay, well, let's talk then." And you know, God knows everyone in the world, the radical right called me a liberal, and the radical left calls me Donald Trump, and so I'm protecting the people of Ontario, and that's my key focus is Ontario.
Just a couple more questions here. We're a couple minutes over, but I just wanted to get your reaction to a story from Radio-Canada today saying that that the U.S. is interested in charging Canada an entry fee before trade talks begin. Like, do you think that...
I've heard about that.
Did you hear about... Yeah, do you think that Canada should acquiesce to such demands?
No,
or what do you think we should do?
I wouldn't. And I reminded of all our American friends, yes, they're a number one customer, but we are their number one customer. We do $500 billion, or close to it, I think it's 470 to be exact, of two-way trade, Ontario alone. 9 million Americans wake up every morning to produce a product, a widget, or a service for Ontario alone. So I always like reminding them that we're their number one customer, and I respect that they're our number one customer as well. And you know what's amazing? The trade between Ontario and the U.S. is literally split right down the middle. It's about 236 one way and 234 32 the other way. So we're right there. And that's the same with the federal government. Take the oil off the table. They have a $30 billion surplus on trade with us. So when Donald Trump says, he rattles on and so on and so forth, we're doing great. We're going to diversify. We're going to keep building Ontario. We don't need Donald Trump to be the greatest, the wealthiest, most prosperous country in the entire world. We have to start building pipelines east and west and south and yes, north, going up to Churchill. That's what we need to do. We need to get critical minerals out of the ground, building our nuclear. And we can be an energy powerhouse. We have all the tools. Just get the regulations and red tape out of the way and start moving. And you saw that in Texas. When we go down there, they think differently, folks. That big, the big data center, the 2.5 million square foot data center, and believe it or not, guess where their headquarters is? Here. But they're building 2.5 million square foot building, and I'll never forget the story the CEO said when we were down there, that the mayor came, and it was a farmer's field, the mayor came and said, we'll get a permit in 6 months for you, for a 2.5 million square foot data center. And it took him 8 months. The mayor showed up, profusely apologized to the board of directors, I'm so sorry I took 2 months. Folks, you can't get a permit for a doghouse in Toronto for 5 years. But this is what we're up against. This is our competition, and we're dilly-dallying along and, worrying about the grasshopper that crosses the street. It's ridiculous.
Premier, do you think the Prime Minister will be able to get a pipeline built in this country in the next 5 years?
No, if he has the will to do it, it can be done. And even though, I'd love to get the pipeline first down to Sarnia because there's capacity there. I'd love to get the pipeline over to Irving because Irving refineries actually bringing all foreign oil from countries, and some of them don't even like us. And why can't we be self-reliant? Why can't we be, self-sufficient? But in saying all that, the first place I'd put that pipeline, west. It's the quickest access, get west, start sending it over to Asia, sending it around the world, then start shipping it east. And then we can be self-reliant.
And you said if he has the will, do you think he has the will?
I hope he does. We'll be there to support him. It's a Team Canada effort. I'm a strong believer in cooperation and collaboration. If you can collaborate and cooperate, 3 levels of government, no one in the world can stop us. We just have to move forward and put all the politics aside and start getting things done.
Okay, Premier, I'll end with this because I think we're going quite over time, but you have won 3 majority governments, a
Yes.
rare feat. You've said publicly you want to run for a 4th term.
Yes.
What more do you still want to do? What project, what initiative are you trying to see through for, I think, what would probably be an unprecedented 4th term as Premier?
Yes, and first of all, I never take it for granted, folks. I wake up every single morning, and I'm up at 5. I go to sleep at 12. I don't leave my office in Etobicoke till about 11:30, 12, returning these messages. I love my job because we're changing the province. A couple of large projects would be Crawford Nickel up in the north, the Ring of Fire. I want to support for large-scale nuclear out at Wesleyville. Those are probably 3 of the top ones in any other infrastructure, because infrastructure builds for 50 to 100 years. It creates tens of thousands of good paying jobs, and there's always a good ROI on the investment. The first thing we ask ourselves as a team, what's the ROI? Is it good for the people? And that's 2 simple questions. If it's not good for the people, there's no ROI, then don't do it.
Highway 401 tunnel?
100%. We have the busiest, folks. We have the busiest highway in North America. The Toronto Board of Trade has come out, and I'm sure you've heard it. We're losing $57 billion a year on congestion alone. And all the 400 series highways will be at full capacity, including the 407, which I loved the PC government many years ago. Craziest thing they've ever did is sell the 407. They sold it for $2 billion. It's worth $33 billion, being conservative now. But we cut the tolls on our part of the 407, the 412, the 418. And, our building's been off the 401 for probably 40 some odd years. And I drove by the other day, Laura, whenever it was Tuesday, and at 11:30 at night, the 401 was packed. Like, I mean, packed. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, we can't go wider, we can't go up, and everyone in the world is tunneling. Why can't we tunnel? The question is, we can tunnel, and that will save massive amounts of money going back into people's personal time, first of all, and the economic time to get goods from point A to point B. So we're going to move forward on it after all the tunneling we're doing here. We're tunneling experts. We'll get it done, and traffic will be moving, because I'm thinking about 25, 50, 100 years down the road. So we'll get that project done.
And do you think the federal government will support you in that? Like, have
I'm
you
pretty
heard anything?
confident that they will. There's a lot of things they asked in that $8.8 billion deal, like the high-speed train. So it's give and take. And, I'm supporting them on the high-speed train. And wouldn't it be great if we had the tunnels too, but have transit shooting right down the middle of the 401 for future. That's what we need to get people even out of the cars, get them into the subways that we're building.
Well, thank you so much. I could talk to you all day, but I feel like you have things to do.
Yeah,
I
just
don't,
a few
but
things.
yeah, thank you so much.
I gotta go plane shopping. What do you think I'm doing?
Yes,
Anyways, thanks, folks.
I'll help you.
You're all true leaders. I appreciate each and every one of you. And this province wouldn't be able to thrive and prosper and grow if it wasn't for each and every one of you. I'm very, very grateful. Again, if you ever need help, call myself, call Peter, call Will, and we'll get right back to you, because the best ideas in the world come from the people that call me up, and business-minded people like yourself. So thank you, and God bless. Thank you.